agreed to give you the information about the launch. On Saturday, the 17th of February, His Excellency the President launched the UPDF establishment. The establishment is a doctrinal publication. It is a UPDF copyright, and the intellectual property for publication is exclusively UPDF. So in other words, the public stops at seeing the book, what it looks like. As for the contents, please leave them to us. The UPDF establishment is a fundamental expression of its vision to transform into a modern, professional, efficient, effective, and accountable force, anchored on a strong civil-military partnership and capable of effectively and efficiently undertaking its missions. It aims at strengthening the existing structures and also define new structures or new structure arrangements, roles, responsibilities, and functions. It streamlines reporting mechanisms, rationale for recruitment, and effective personnel management. The UPDF establishment, therefore, enables or gives room for changes of emerging UPDF departments, the creation of new ones, and the changing or discarding of old ones, and then the improvement of command, control, and administration of the force. That is what this book does, and that's its purpose. The commander-in-chief of the UPDF is His Excellency the President. However, the force is commanded on his behalf by a person entitled the Chief of Defense Forces, who, according to the constitutional provisions and the provisions of the Defense Forces Act quoted on Saturday, he delegates authority to the CDF to command the entire UPDF. Now, the military does not leave room for doubts. So that's why it talks about all the elements. Now, the elements are talking about the land forces, the air forces, the special forces, and the reserve. That's what happened on Saturday before the Defense Forces Council. The Bible gives you the word of God. Does it mean that something has changed? God remains the same. The word has never changed for thousands of years. And you are a human being. The UPDF as an institution has existed. But over the years, it has grown beyond an infantry force to include the now Air Force, to include special forces, to include the reserve force. So when you talk of all elements, you now want to capture the new elements that have been created or built over the years. And again, like I said, for lack of doubt, to ensure there is no doubt, then you indicate what you are referring to as all elements. And in this establishment, the insignia or the symbols of the different services are actually included. Okay? That governs the individuals in the UPDF. The establishment is institutional direction. Okay? How does this relate to the other? At strategic level, you have a joint force, a joint headquarters. At operation level, you have service headquarters. Like you have land forces in Bombo and the air force in Entebbe, and reserve force also in Bombo, special forces in Entebbe. How do they relate with each other? So this is the day-to-day running of the institution. I don't know whether I've explained. It's like you have the constitution vis-a-vis the executive how it runs, but the constitution will govern not only the executive, it's the legislature and the judiciary. So the law covers everybody individually, and then the institutional obligations by law. This is administration, management, and control of the UPDF as an institution. How it wants to move from here, say, to 20, 40 years to come. Emerging means those that are evolving over time. For example, we may soon or later develop Marine's capacity. It's an emerging force as we speak for now. Yes, we have security for our legs, but sooner than later we may build it beyond the brigade it is to something else. We'll do that if we amend the constitution, because Article 98 stipulates there shall be a president who shall be also the commander-in-chief of the UPDF. So unless you amend that article, that thought wouldn't arise. Yeah. And maybe it may take this opportunity to help the Ugandans out there. He's commander-in-chief of the UPDF, not armed forces. Until you amend that Article 98 to displace UPDF with armed forces, he still remains the commander-in-chief of the UPDF. That's what the Constitution provides for. So I've heard people calling him commander-in-chief of the armed forces. We don't have that one in our Constitution. Kusinzira nga bangi bamusabye wadde kino kyaffe kya munda nsazeewo mbanjulire naye sijja kisosootola nti ku Lwomukaaga ennaku z'omwezi 17 ku kye tuyita establishment oba ekitabo ekirambulula enkolagana n'enteekateeka z'ebibinja n'ebitongole ebiri mu Uganda People's Defence Forces. Era ku olwo bwe yamala okyanjula n'akikwasa omuduumizi wa UPDF Gen W.M Mbadi, Member of Parliament. Era n'ateeka omukono oba ekinkumu ku kiragiro ekiragira era ne kikkiriza omuduumizi w'amagye oba CDF okuduumira ebitongole byonna ebya UPDF. Ekitabo kino kyemulabyeko gaggadde bwe kiti kirambulula engeri oba enteekateeka UPDF gyesuubira okwezimbamu ate nga kisimbidde ku nkolagana ennungi wakati w'amagye n'omuntu wa bulijjo. Kiraga wawa gye tugenda kissaamu amaanyi mu bitongole n'ejjezibizi oba reserve force. Kikuwa emisingi ejja okukozesebwa mu kutambuza emirimu gyaffe. Era kiraga oba kisobozesa enkyukakyuka ngeri ki gye ziyinza okukolebwa mu ggye lya UPDF mu bitongole mu buduumizi oba mu bitongole eby'enjawulo. N'olwekyo kikino oweekitiibwa Pulezidenti kye yayanjulidde oba kyegguddewo mu maaso ga Defence Forces Council. Obanye Oluganda luzibwawo. Ye organ esembayo waggulu mu nkulembera y'amagye. Oweekitiibwa n'akiyita. But it's the highest organ of the UPDF. Toyine bw'obigeraageranya olinga abuuza nti omwana ne taata ne maama ani asinga obuyinza mu maka. Ssemateeka w'eggwanga liwaggulu wa buli kintu kyonna. Okay? Era etteeka lya UPDF lijjibwa mu ssemateeka bajjamu akawayiro akukulembera oba kukufuga amagye. Kati kino kiraga ngeri ky'amagye gye ganaafugibwamu, gye ganaazimbamu ebitongole ebirala, eri abafu boogenda okuwandiika amagye amapya wa woosinziira, ate era ne kiraga engeri gye tujja okuba nga tumanejinga oba tuyisa officers, general officers n'abalwanyi aba UPDF, personnel management mu lufuutifuuti. Ekyakoleddwa ku Saturday kyabadde kuteeka mu lwatu mu lufuutifuuti bakiyita implementation of the law. nti omuduumizi w'okuntiko owa UPDF ye president naye tasobola kuduumira amagye gano buli lunaku okulondola gafugibwa gatya gatambula gatya, so addira obuyinza n'abugabirako omuduumizi w'amagye ng'amulagira akulembera amagye gano mu linnya lye. Era mu lufu kyebaga nti command, control and management of all elements of the UPDF. Teri yali ajja kuvaayo naga nti anze olwoka president yanteekawo ndi ansereva wa president so si wa UPDF, wa CDF. Buli muntu yenna ayitibwa nti ali mu UPDF adumira ekibijja kya UPDF ali answerable oba addamu eri Chief of Defence Forces. Njola. Okay. Okugeza titles oba amanya g'ebitongole bimu gagenda kukyuka. Kankwe ekyokuleberako omwogezi w'eminisitule y'ebyokwerinda of staff agenda kuyitibwa Chief of Joint Staff. Kyatandise okuva kino kyafulumiziddwa ku Saturday. Kati ne bachiefs abali wansi we bonna bajja kubeera Chief of Joint Staff Personnel or Human Resource, Chief of Joint Staff Intelligence and Security, Chief of Joint Staff. Kati abo yebitongole biri wano offices ziri ku kitebe ekigatta Joint Headquarter. Kati ayene mu mikono emirala nabo bakyusiddwa empitibwa yaabwe. Nsuubira ekiseera kijja kutuuka tujja kuba tulangirira ani afuusa ani, naye nga enkola y'emirimu esigadde yeemu okugjako titles oba amannya ge gakyusiddwa establishment eno. Kyegenderera kulaga jointness, kujjayo nti terikyali ggye lya kugulu kumu, amagulu kati gali ana, naye amagulu ago gajja kutambula gatya. Yes. The Joint Chief of Staff is Chief of Joint Staff. And then the other chiefs under him will follow that. Chief of Joint Staff, Human Resource, who has been the Chief of Personnel. Chief of Joint Staff, Security and Intelligence, that has been the CMI, and others like that.
So in terms of services?
Of course, for now we have 4 services: the Land Forces, Air Forces, Special Forces, and the Reserve Force. This establishment creates room for any other service that may be deemed necessary. As we speak, we have security on our legs, but that is being done at brigade level. It may grow, so there is room for it to grow into even a service, depending on the population size, depending on capacity developed, all those. And this will provide equally for how we relate with each other at the different levels. Yeah.
So, final one for me. Does it mean that now
the CDF must be in constant consultation with the Commander-in-Chief, because he's as this delegated authority is helping you to understand. His is delegated authority. He commands us on behalf of the the Commander-in-Chief. Naye naade nziramu nga ninawe ensi kyenziramu. Naade nambulula abafunye endowooza olwo naawandiise nti osanga kati transition yetandise. Sijja kuyingira mu byabufuzi ebyo si byange. Naye akawayiro 98 kasemateeka wa Uganda kawa obuyinza pulezidenti w'eggwanga okubeera nga ye muduumizi w'okuntiko ow'eggye. Ne bw'aba nga civilian, leka ono retired general, ayina obuyinza obuba bumuweereddwa ssemateeka okuba nti ye muduumizi w'okuntiko. Naye olw'okuba tasobola kuduumira amagye gano buli lunaku kulondoola entambuza y'emirimu, ssemateeka amuwa obuyinza okuteekawo Chief of Defence Forces anaaduumira amagye gano mu linnya lye. Yes. Kitabu inayo elekeza jinsi ya utawala, uamrishaji na ufanyakazi, utendaji kazi wa jeshi la wananchi la UPDF. Na hii kitabu ambao alimkabidhi mkuu wa majeshi Jenerali Mbadi honorable, inampatia uwezo kwa niaba ya rais na ushirikiano wake ndani na kati ya hizi vikosi vya UPDF. Kwa hiyo mfano inatuonyesha kwamba majina ya wakuu kwenye headquarter atabadilika, na nikatoa mfano ya afisi inayokalia sasa hivi ambayo imebadilishwa kutoka defense spokesperson ikaitwa defense public information officer. Alafu mkuu wa utawala, yani joint chief of staff, akawa atakuwa sasa hivi anaitwa chief of joint staff, na wanayomfuata chini yake watafata hivyo hivyo. Na hii imefuata kutokana na namna jeshi linaenda kuwa la kisasa, kutokana na maendeleo ambayo tumepata na tunazidi kupata. Chenga sana mbade nchogede mu lwatu. The more refugees are coming in, that's the first instance. I mean, the first concern, refugees are coming in. Number two, it means no business is going on in that region, and for us, we believe security is for the purpose, and the main purpose is the economic activity by the wananchi. So our people can't sell things across the border. The other side, they can't sell things across this side of the border. That's the second impact. The third one, of course, this destabilizes the entire region, because as East African community, we anticipated trade across this whole region that certainly will go a long way in enabling us to realize socio-economic transformation. Now that can't happen when people are running away. Production stops, trade stops, and therefore negative impact on the economies of the countries affected. The principles of peacekeeping require the host nation to welcome you. Now, if the host nation says, I no longer need you, you leave. Those were the circumstances that made ICRAF leave, because the DRC authorities did not renew the mandate of ICRAF, which expired on the 8th of December last year. Ekitegeeza tiri kikolebwa okuzaaza jibe ettaka zibeere ensolo ezirundibwa bibeere byamaguzi bya kusobulaganya. N'olwekyo ekyo kiina kikosa ebyenfuna ebyamawanga gombi, ekitegeeza n'amawanga gonna ag'omubuvanjuba bwa Africa. Ekyokubiri nti obutali butebenkevu mu ggwanga erimu kitawaanya omukago gwonna ogwa East Africa. N'olw'ensonga eyo abantu badduka era Kisula afuna abanoonyiboobubudamu buli lunaku, n'ejjo eri abayingidde naluli eri abayingidde weekend yonna ab'okunsobola bize nga baaniriza badduka embeera eri mu ndeeri. So kino kikosa ebyenfuna. Kuba amateeka gafuga okukuuma emirembe gakuwa kwosinziira nti mu nsi gy'ogenza okugikuuma ensi eyo ekwaniriza oba ekukkiriza okubeerayo. Kati ICRAF oba ejje ekkuumaddembe ly'obuvanjuba bwa Africa, ekisanja bwe kyaggwako nga 8 kisanja kyalyo 8 December, gavumenti ya DRC tiyazza bujja ndagaano eyo oba olukusa. Kati n'olwekyo twalina okusiba ebyaffe tuveeyo okusinziira ku mbeera eyo. Naye nga tutunuulira era tusaba nti bannaffe abasaddaka bazze banazza embeera mu nteeko. nchini Uganda. Maana yake hakuna kulima, hakuna kufanya kazi ya wafuga mifugo kama ng'ombe na mbuzi, hakuna uchuruzi. Kwa hivyo hii vinaathiri uchumi wa nchi, uchumi wa nchi zenye zinahusika, na inaleta msukosuko kwenye wilaya ya Afrika Mashariki. Kwa hivyo ni maombi yetu kwamba lazima amani rudi Eastern DRC kuleso kuyingira programu yabalala.